Before the clash of empires, before the roar of cannons echoed across the sea, there was a moment of silence, a calm that hid the storm to come. Sailors stood on wooden decks, gripping their weapons, knowing that by nightfall, history itself would be rewritten. What you are about to hear is not just a story of a battle, but the story of a turning point that changed the fate of nations forever.
I was not born a legend. I was born Hayreddin, a sailor shaped by salt, wind, and struggle long before the world would whisper my name with fear. In my youth, I sailed beside my brother, Oruç Reis. He was the fire, bold, relentless, impossible to ignore. I was the shadow behind him, watching the sea, learning its language. Together, we carved our fate across the waters of the Mediterranean, not as mere pirates, but as men answering a call larger than ourselves. The sea tested us every day. Storms tore at our sails. Hunger gnawed at our bones. Enemies hunted us from every direction, especially the forces of Spain, who tightened their grip on the coasts of North Africa. But each hardship only hardened our resolve. Then came the call from Algiers. Its people were suffering under Spanish domination. Their voices reached us across the waves, not in words, but in desperation. We did not hesitate. This was no longer about survival or fortune. This was about liberation. It was the year 1516 when we set sail toward destiny. The morning we approached the coast, the sea was unnaturally calm, as if it, too, was holding its breath. Our ships moved silently, cutting through the water like shadows. I remember gripping the edge of the deck, staring at the land ahead, knowing that once we stepped ashore, there would be no turning back. When we landed, the air itself felt heavy. The people watched us, not with fear, but with fragile hope. That look, it burned into my soul. We attacked without delay. The Spanish defenses were strong, their soldiers disciplined. Cannons roared from the fortress walls, tearing through wood and flesh alike. The ground trembled with every explosion. But we did not falter. My brother led from the front, his sword flashing like lightning. I followed, commanding the men, pushing forward through smoke and chaos. Street by street, we fought. Every corner was a battle. Every step was paid for in blood. I can still hear it, the clash of steel, the cries of the wounded, the thunder of cannon fire echoing against stone walls. War is not glory, it is noise, fire, and loss. But we endured, and then, at last, the moment came. The Spanish lines broke, their commander fled, and the city was ours. When we raised our banner over Algiers, the wind returned, strong, fierce, alive. The people filled the streets, their voices rising like waves. In that moment, I understood something. We had not just taken a city. We had given it back. But victory is never the end. Not long after, fate struck a cruel blow. My brother, Oruç, my guide, my strength, fell in battle against the Spanish forces. The man they had called Barbarossa was gone. And with him, a part of me. I remember standing alone after his death, the sea before me darker than I had ever seen it. The fleet looked to me now. The men waited. The people still needed protection. I had a choice: fade into the waves, or become something greater. So I took his place. And I took his name. From that day on, they called me Barbarossa, the Red Beard. Not because I sought glory, but because the legend could not die. Years passed, and I strengthened our hold over Algiers, turning it into a fortress of resistance. I pledged loyalty to Selim, bringing these lands under the protection of the Ottoman Empire. Our fleet grew stronger, our enemies more fearful. The Mediterranean itself seemed to change. Where once we had fled, now we ruled. Where once we were hunted, now we were the storm. And I, Hayreddin Barbarossa, was no longer just a sailor. I had become the voice of the sea, the sword of a people, and the shadow that would haunt every enemy who dared to cross these waters. But even now, if you ask me who I truly am, I will tell you this: I am still that man on the deck, staring at the horizon, waiting for the next battle. After the battle, the outcome reshaped the balance of power at sea. The victorious side gained control over key territories and strategic routes, strengthening its influence in the region. The defeated forces suffered heavy losses in ships and manpower, weakening their naval dominance. Although the winning alliance celebrated a major triumph, the long-term impact was more complex. The losing empire, despite the defeat, managed to rebuild its fleet faster than expected and continued to remain a significant power. However, the psychological effect of the loss marked a turning point, signaling that its supremacy was no longer unchallenged. In the years that followed, naval warfare began to evolve. Traditional galley-based fleets slowly gave way to more advanced sailing ships equipped with heavier artillery. This battle is often remembered not only for its immediate results, but also as the moment that symbolized the end of an era in maritime history.